is right across from the scene of the explosion where VIP guests were seated. You see the detritus Boston Fire and EMS have both been on the scene since this first happened. There are some photos on social media that have already circulated, people taking pictures of family and loved ones as they were running by, and out of happenstance in the background you can see an orange flame, a fireball. We are efforting those to get them on the air for you, but we have seen both aerial and, as you see there, ground-based pictures of some of the injured, the wounded being taken out. Way too early to talk about a source, a cause. It would be quite coincidental, however, for a gas main to decide to let loose of all the cities and all the city blocks in this country on this day of all days, for there to be not one but two explosions separated by a short period of time right at the finish line of the Boston Marathon. We're going to listen into live coverage. We have two sources, both New England Cable News and our own NBC station, WHDH. This first will be live reporting from New England Cable News. We found ourselves running up toward Copley Square. When we reached the library at Copley Square, panic began to break out. The police and the volunteers for the marathon and their yellow jackets began streaming, running frantically up toward the Prudential Center in the general vicinity where I think you just talked to Chris Collins. Then there were gurneys coming now with people injured. Then a man approached me that I happen to know, whose son was killed in Iraq. That is the means by which I know him. He was covered with blood. He had been carrying the body of another person who had been seriously injured in this accident. He told me that they were there when suddenly this explosion broke out where the flags are. That's how he and his companion put it, where the flags are. That would be right near the finish line. He said there were many injured people. He said he saw one person who had lost their legs. I have no way to confirm that, but plainly we began to see people who were very seriously injured. And right now they're trying to clear Boylston Street here. A number of ambulances have responded. I'd say the response came within a matter of 30 seconds to a minute. We heard sirens, and we were just basically bucking a tide of people who were coming our way. I'm looking at a woman now who looks like she's all right, but so that's pretty much what we saw. This was a situation that struck terror into everybody by the time we got there. Of course, don't know the cause of the explosion right now. Back to you.
All right, Greg Wayland reporting from us. Greg, I'll take it from here. Again, we're in the midst of breaking news right now. A report of two explosions near the finish line.
And back here at our NBC News New York headquarters, again, from time to time, we'll dip into both New England Cable News and WHDH, our NBC station in Boston. Both are able to provide both aerial coverage and on-the-ground coverage. We have established telephone contact with an eyewitness to what happened. There you see, we'll start rolling in some of the still pictures we have grabbed off of social media, a lot of them showing the explosion and smoke in the background. Will Ritter is with us by phone from Boston. Will, where were you relative to the concussion, and what did you see?
Thanks. I was about a block away from the explosions. We heard the two really large explosions in rapid succession, about a second apart from one another. Everybody kind of ducked and hit the ground. Police started to immediately jump over all the barricades and run towards the smoke that was billowing up the corner of Boylston Street and Dartmouth Street, the Boston Public Library's main branch location. And then all the bike racks were closed to kind of keep people in their section so people wouldn't rush to the scene or rush away from the scene. We've seen about 100, I'd say, emergency vehicles tearing down Boylston Street and St. James Street, responding. And right now I'm looking at the corner, and there's a lot of flashing lights and sirens.
Will, we keep hearing reports of one and then a secondary explosion. Can you confirm that, and were they seconds or minutes apart?
I can confirm, yeah, there was two explosions that were probably 1 second apart of about equal intensity. Just a loud bang, about a second beat, and then another bang. and then lots of billowy white smoke.
So we see the kind of powder burn on the sidewalk outside of a first floor exposure. What's next to it appears to be outdoor, perhaps an outdoor restaurant, and sadly, it looks like the cameraman from our station in Boston has widened out a bit for matters of taste, but sadly it looks like a lot of blood, a lot of bandages right there, what, 50, 75 yards from the finish line. Will Ritter, are you still with us?
Yes, that's correct. It was right where the finish line is, where there's grandstands. You can probably see them on the video, grandstands and the finish line and the media. That's precisely where the sounds came from, and the explosions came from, where the smoke was.
And Will, I've also heard conflicting reports. How long after the first finishers, in effect the winner of the Boston Marathon, crossed the line, did this explosion go off?
I would say it's probably about an hour from when the men's finisher was the last, marquee finisher, about an hour from then. But you still had, massive amounts of people coming across the finish line. Folks in the intermediate and regular runners, folks running for charity, etc. We're still crossing the finish line en masse.
Okay. If you're just joining us, we're on the phone with Will Ritter, who was an eyewitness to what you're looking at right there on Boylston in Boston, just off Copley. This explosion has taken place at the finish line of today's Boston Marathon. On an otherwise beautiful, breezy day, we have apparently mass casualties. Boston EMS, Boston Fire were quick to respond. It was an area where the population of Boston PD, this being the largest public event annually in Boston, was already high. This is video just coming into us. This is aftermath. You see the scissor vehicle in the foreground for the elevated camera shot, but this is right after the explosion, and you see the smoke billowing onto the street right when that awful concussion strikes, and initially people don't know just what has happened. This is raw tape coming to us from Boston. This is what one of the cameras that was set up for the finish line coverage recorded. And again, you see the flags lining the street. As Will pointed out, the grandstands across the street from the finish line. This is a big day in the city of Boston, and yet it would appear someone has detonated an explosive at or near the finish line of the Boston Marathon. Will, if you're still with us, we see black SUVs. We see the Boston PD's kind of emergency response team. They have obviously locked down the area. There are no civilians left inside. The injured have been taken out, but now it is, right now it is a crime scene.
Yeah, from what I can see, lots of emergency vehicles and completely blocked off the block, which was pretty much already cordoned off pretty well anyway, as it was the end of the Boston Marathon. They've got a complex system of bike rack to, ferry people out. But it's completely locked down now, and we just see a lot of people with stretchers, putting stretchers on golf carts and running towards the scene.
As the Associated Press is reporting it, as we just described, this happened just before the kind of photo bridge that marks the finish line. As their sports writer puts it, and let's not forget this started as a sporting event, one of the premier sporting events in the country. 2 explosions shattered the euphoria of the Boston Marathon finish line on Monday, sending authorities out on the course to carry off the injured, while the stragglers in the 26.2-mile trek were rerouted away from the smoking site of the blasts. We are going to run some more video just into us.
Where's the explosion? I think we missed the initial...
This is immediate aftermath. All we're missing there is the yellow flash.
When that explosion happened, and there's that second. So it does sound like this.
And then you heard the second one.
One of the questions I had when this